All right, time to get started here. Looks like we got everything up and running. Hope everyone's had a great weekend so far. I had a pretty good one myself. We went out to a mountain range nearby, and we were actually going to do some hiking, but went out there with a group of friends, but the heat index was so high that the park rangers actually closed the trails because apparently too many people had gone, needed rescuing because they didn't hydrate or whatever. So that's kind of annoying, but we did enjoy ourselves. Went out there, went to the top of one of the mountain peaks, and got some good photos, got some good food, and it's been pretty chill. So really can't complain at all. And so what I'm going to do for this stream here is work on a game jam that GDevelop is hosting, and I've had no chance to actually start on yet, but here is what's going on. So we've got this, it's a weekend jam, the 2nd through the 4th. Today's the 3rd. So I didn't actually start on the 2nd at all. So it's due basically in about 12 hours now. Well, you know, it says it's due in 17 hours, but I do plan on sleeping tonight. And it's all in all, I'll probably put in about 5 or 6 hours here and just see how it goes. Looking to just take it easy. And here's the theme. 2 buttons. So basically like a left and right click, or like an A and D on the WASD keyboard, or, you know, some mobile buttons. So that is a nice constraint because it automatically limits my scope of the game in some ways. So with that scope in mind, I don't have, no, obviously they are emphasizing, of course it's mandatory to use the GDevelop engine. They're also emphasizing a lot of multiplayer this time around. So for the prizes, you get in-game credits for the generic placements, but then also a special award for the highest rated online multiplayer game. So what I'm going to do though, since I don't have a specific idea of how I want to start the game, I'm just going to start blank template and start from scratch. I did pick out an asset pack that I would like to use. I purchased from an artist. So I'm set on that. So I'm going to create the project now. And I think I will start out by making it mobile friendly at least. And I'm trying to decide how I want to do that. I kind of feel like doing a landscape this time around. Last time I did portrait. So I'm going to pick a landscape, 1280 by 720. And I'm just going to call the project name GD Weekend Jam 3. Yeah. Save it on the cloud. It will not be pixel art. And I will allow players to authenticate. So yeah, create. Here we go. Hopefully I've got my music settings all right. Try not to drown anyone out or make it so quiet you can't hear it. So yeah, let me show you what I'm working with here. So we've got some, and sorry for the flashbang here. I was feeling, I guess, in the mood to do something kind of sweet. So I selected an asset pack that is sort of a Candyland, kind of lighthearted. I like to do a lot of dark, you know, most of my latest work has been dark tower defense, and so I spend a lot of time doing sort of like dark, almost gothic kind of moody stuff. So I just wanted to do something lighthearted, not to be taken seriously. And anyway, here are a couple of example scenes from the artist, which I guess I can give him a shout out here. Let me pull him up. That is Robert Brooks. And he's got art available on robertbrooks.com or something, and then also from itch.io. Anyway, yeah, here are a couple of examples. So I could do some parallaxing and have these things, move in layers in the background. But I was thinking of making this maybe possibly more of a vertical platform jumper rather than a side scroller, because I've been doing a couple of side scrolly type games lately. And again, I don't want to be too samey. So it's a lot of good stuff here. I do need a player character still. Let me start by just building some sort of a scene here. Let me put a background color in here that isn't just white. Actually, I prefer something darker so it doesn't hurt my eyes. And yeah, let's start getting some of these assets in here. And I think they can be regular sprites. I don't think that I need them to be tiled. So I'm going to import some images. Let me go over to where I have this stuff. All right, so background. Yeah, I can go ahead and put in some of this stuff. Let me think. I guess we could start with... Let me start with the main items, not the background per se. So that would be probably the houses. Could maybe make the players able to interact or jump off of these things. So that would be... It looks like we've got left and right. So let me get all of the left ones into a single object. I could really put them all into one object, I think. So, but I'll make them in different animations. So let me open this. And then I'll just add an animation for each of the other sprites. All right, greenhouse left. And right. GDevelop's been making a lot of good changes, a lot of quality of life in the last few updates. So I'm really happy about those changes, such as adding variables, applying variables to groups of objects, whereas previously you had to, let's say you had a bunch of houses like this. You could put all of them into a group, but in order to act on a group variable, you had to manually add the variable to each item if they were objects and not just animations. Anyways, now you can actually just apply the variable to the group, which is fantastic. It's a time saver. And for people like me who need all the help they can get, I will take any time saved. So let me look at the collision masks here. I'm not sure how I want to use these, but I imagine there may be the possibility of allowing the player to jump onto them, in which case I need the collision mask to be a little more custom than this. I know that simple shapes generally work best, so I'm going to try to keep it as simple as I can. So let me do maybe a, let's see here. Could really do just the shape of the roof. Not sure how I would like to do this, because you could do the shape of the roof so that they can actually jump onto that, but able to walk underneath. We'll just have to see how this goes. And let me see how it looks. Let me square these up a little bit. Maybe 70 and 70. I always feel like it looks just a little bit better to allow the player character to sink into the sprite rather than look like they're floating on top of it. Oh, I'm going the wrong way here. So 72 and 72. There we go. All right, now these are really just about the edge of the roof there. All right, let me see. This one needs to go inward a bit. So let's say 245, 48, 52, something like that. And then this one down here. And then we'll lower the Y just, ooh, gosh. And then we'll lower the Y just a little bit here. Let's try 480. And then this guy on the top right, we're going to move that over to the left. So we need to decrease the X a bit. We'll say 685. 680. And then the bottom right needs to move out to the right a little bit. So instead of 907, let's try 915. Now I'll just drag it. All right. So let me see what the, right now it's going to share the collision mask with all of the animations. So let me see what it looks like on the other animations. It's going to be a little bit rough, so I might have to use custom ones for, I think I need 2 collision masks. So all of the left facings and then all of the right facings. So it's a little annoying, but what I'll do first is go to animation 1. This will be the first of the right facing houses. So let me get this one correct, and then I'll go through and apply basically all the even numbers and all the odd numbers. So for number 1 here, the top actually looks fine. I think it's just the bottom vertices. Just drag it. And I'm going to call that good enough. This one right here is a little funny, but so let me grab a quick screenshot of this just so I have the the numbers in front of me. All right, so that's 1. Let's go to 3. Oh, you know what? I did not do, because I'm an idiot. I need to uncheck these. Because I think it just undid my initial work. So that's fine. Just drag this back in a little bit. All right. All right, now go to number 1. That looks good. Number 2. I want 255, 72, 680, 72. Yeah, so that's going to be different. This one looks good. So it's the odd numbers I need now. So let me recapture. All right, wait. Okay, 1 looks good. 0 looks good. 2 looks bad. Five looks good. 6 looks bad. Okay, so it's the even numbers that are bad. So let me re-update this one. Just drag that in a little bit and drag that one out a little bit. And I'll recapture. And this will be for all of the even animations. $929, $450, and 22.5 and $485. That should do. All right, we'll close that. I'm going to go ahead and apply it so I save my work there. And I'll rename that as house. And I'm going to go ahead and apply a behavior to this that I know I'll want, which is a platform. Ledges can be grabbed. And do we want it to be a jump through platform? Seems like you could jump up onto a roof. So to me, jump through makes sense. So I'm going to apply that and we'll see how it feels later. Do we need any variables here? Not that I'm aware of at the moment, so I'm just going to apply that and move on. Let's add another object. Let's grab a sprite from my folder. Import images. Let's go back. Now the clouds, I think I might put those in as a tiled sprite. So it's not super tile-y, but well, let me just throw these in. Same way as I did the house, I'll just do different animations. For now, and those will have possibly no behavior, so I'm just going to apply that as is. Let me rename it actually to cloud. And again, I'm coming into this super relaxed, super chill. I have no real plan here. The game jam I pretty much have tonight and some of tomorrow morning. I don't plan to lose a lot of sleep over it, but I do plan to have some fun with it and just see what happens. So what I'm doing here, if I drag these houses out, over on the left, since it's one object with different animations, I can just change the animation number and get a different result. And I'll do most of this actually in the events, but I'm just trying to get an idea for maybe how I will lay this out. I'm not sure what happened there. So drag this cloud out here. I could have some of these just kind of float through in the background. Obviously, I need to send this to the back. So I'd probably just create these procedurally and have them move as clouds do. All right, what other things can we add in here? Let's go back to the folder. We've got some hills. Oops, I didn't mean to do that exactly. Go back. Let me pull up the folder. In the hills folder, what do we have? There's some of these. So that's an example of what we could do with them. Those could also be platforms. That would work just fine. All right. So I'm assuming we have different colors of this, of the same hill shapes. So if I go into, say, purple, and okay, and then we've got small and white. So pink, purple, white, and then some small ones. So these are the foreground. Let's go ahead and put those in. We don't need that cherry. All right, we're going to need some custom collision masks on these. They will not share the same collision mask for all the animations. So let's do the collision mask. Drag that down, drag that down. Yeah, I mean, really just keep it pretty basic here. All right, animation number 1. That one is way off. Way off. Now I've got a pretty big monitor, but some of these things are actually like, there we go. Zoom in, kind of hard to see. Fit content to window, and then can I zoom in on the left? There we go. All right, animation number 2, which is actually the third. This one, we might have to add some more vertices. If I drag that, let's get the basic shape, and then we'll plug in something else here. So we'll need one here, drag that up, and one here, and drag it down. Zoom in out here, get that a little more precise. And then on the left. All right. Wait, what happened here? It doesn't like this. It's saying it's not. Oh, yeah, that's a problem, isn't it? It's not convex. So that's annoying. All right, well. All right, let's see what we can do here. We can bring the top down. Might have to actually just edit this sprite or not even use it at all because of this constraint. So let's just get rid of that one for now altogether, and I could fix that real quick. We've got, oh, which tool do I have for that? I'm going to pull up Inkscape real quick. And let me drag an image into that. Which would be this one. So what I mostly want here now are just the colors. Or maybe if I drag it. Actually, let me see. I put the PNG in here. Do I have... Sometimes I get the actual... Yeah, this is why I want the colors. The PNG is going to degrade. You can see it's staircasing. So let me just grab the color, but Inkscape will allow me to create the SVG files, which are... I'll still export them as PNGs for GDevelop, but they'll be much smoother while I'm manipulating them. All right, so there's that color. All right, I'm going to put this on the back burner. If I need that, I will come back to it, manipulate the shape. For now, let me rename this to, I guess, hills. That will also receive the platformer object, platform behavior. And, you know, obviously, like I'm saying, if I stretch these out, it might start to look funny, but I can fix those at some point if they start to look like what I want. So if I were to like send that to the back, oops, you have a house sitting on it. Something like that. This one, maybe change the animation. Stretch it out a little bit. And I still need to find a player object, but let me just drag something in here from the asset store that I can manipulate. And let's say just something ridiculous like a pumpkin. This will be platformer character, apply, and it looks like I would need to do, well, if I drag him in here, so what's going to happen is he'll fall because of gravity. Let me preview this. And yeah, he's going to land on the platforms I made. Obviously, it looks terrible because of the collision mask, so let me, well, I don't really need to edit the collision masks because I'm obviously not using that sprite, but what I'm doing is I'm kind of trying to decide, do I want this to be a purely sort of a 2D game, left and right, up and down, or kind of simulate 3D by using the Y-sort function, which I could do. So let me see, this house should be jump through, should be able to grab onto there. And I should be able to go down through it. Actually, that's really annoying for testing. Let me look at the collision mask here. Just to help my sanity a little bit. Okay. Apply. See if that looks a little bit better for testing at least. I'm having some trouble getting up there. He's going to need more jumping power. Or she. It looks like a guy, though. Gravity 1000. What if we... Yeah, can grab platform ledges. That might help us out quite a bit. Without changing anything else, let me test that here. So get on there. It's kind of weird because when I think I made this, the side of this house is so vertical, that whenever I hit the left button from here, it thinks I'm trying to pass through it. Like, for example, if I'm on the top and I push down, it's allowed to sync through by design. So, but when I'm here on the side and I push left, instead of running, it thinks I'm trying to pass through it like that. So that's something I would need to change. And then obviously, let me show you what I mean with the Y sort behavior. I think it would look nice. I just don't know. It depends on the game I'm going to make. Let's put this in here. Apply. So now as he goes up, it's not really going to make a lot of sense, but it's kind of like... Actually, I need to configure that a little bit. Let me see here. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. Let me rename this as player. Again, hopefully everyone's been having a good weekend so far. It's been pretty chill on my end. We did some, we were going to do some trail hiking. It got too hot. The rangers said they closed the trails at 10 a.m. So we went and just did some scenic photographs in the Wichita Mountains area, and it was kind of nice. Did anyone else do anything crazy this weekend, or is it pretty relaxing? Or did you have to work? The unfortunate souls who work weekends. I've been there. Well, that's weird with the cloud. Oh, okay, so here we go. So it's kind of a weird combination of the Y sort behavior, but also the platformer objects. So he should be going behind whenever he's above a thing. But I think what I really meant was a different behavior. And let me pull that up. And so for anyone just coming in, this is for the GDevelop Game Jam. The theme is only 2 buttons. So, which I'm already kind of breaking that theme here. But I'm thinking, yeah, I'll have to really figure out how I want to do that if I'm going to do platformer. But it could be maybe a jump and some sort of a boost, which I have an idea for how that might happen. There's actually a example game that was released recently where there's an automatic arrow and the player can jump in the direction of that arrow. We could do something like that. Let me see something here. Okay, here's what I'm looking for. Add a behavior. We're going to look for depth effect. And this will scale the player object. And it would make the object look like it's getting smaller as it moves away, which doesn't really make sense in this scenario. So if this were not in the sky, and maybe we're just like on the ground walking up to these places, it would look like it's getting further and further away. So I really need to make a decision here on how I want to implement the world. So with only 2 buttons, usually that would be like maybe a left, right, or an up and down. You could go up and down. If I'm moving left and right, let's say I put trampolines or something to that effect to give me jumps. That's an option. I could also have the whole world just kind of staircasing downward like escalator style. So maybe these platforms are coming down and I'm having to hop using trampolines and then using my 2 buttons to move left and right. So if that's the case, I would need these things to generate up at the top and then move downward. And the objective, I'm thinking, is the player is going to try to basically eat as many candies as they can in the amount of time given. And if I do turn this into multiplayer, then I have a funny twist in my mind where they're going to grow in size the more they eat. And then there would be a punishment for eating too much. And then they might also get a slight advantage when they start to consume candies. They get a sugar rush, which gives them an advantage temporarily. And then maybe they end up with a sugar crash, which kind of balances that out. So yeah, I'm just kind of making this up on the fly. So let me actually remove that last behavior. I don't think I'm going to use that for this scenario. I like the behavior. It just isn't what I need here. So, apply. All right. With that being said, let's actually go into the events. I haven't written a single event here. I don't need the authentication yet. At the beginning of the scene, we're going to create actually, let me think. What if we just say if the time scale is 1, and then I'm going to put a bunch of stuff in here. So this is basically if the game is not paused, and if add a comment here. Then I'll add a sub event. And I will say, actually, sorry, that sub event needs to be for each. And the object will be hills. For each instance of hills, we would want it to move downward. So then really probably just the Y position would change here. So the Y position of the hills, we would subtract, let's say 1, and just see how that feels. And then let me also go back out there. And so we'll say we want to add a behavior to destroy these things whenever they're outside of the scene. So this is garbage management. And there's something pretty easy here for that, which is destroy. And I'll give it a safety margin of, say, oh, what was the size of the sprite? I don't even know. But the world is 1280 by 720. Let's just say if it's an entire world away. Let's see, vertically it's 720. Let's give it half of a world, which is about, what? 360. something like that. Just as long as I'm not generating hundreds and hundreds of these things without ever destroying them. All right. So right now, I am assuming these things will move downward, but the houses will stay where they are. Oh, oops. They're moving upward. That could actually be kind of fun too. Could be fun. Yeah, I did minus equals 1. If I wanted it to go down, of course, I would add a y value to that. And then, you know, if you don't keep up, you're going to fall out. Now, let's see. The houses. If I'm creating these procedurally, instead of manually dropping them out the way I've been doing, I would probably stick them together. There's a behavior to allow that to happen, which would be, well, it's literally called sticker. And so let's do this then. Let me delete the scene here. Now that I have an idea of what this might look like. And just leave the player object, I guess. The hills are that size, and if I change the animation, then it's going to be quite a bit larger. So if it's animation number 1, I would want to change the scale. That's quite a bit different. Is that the original? I guess so. That is quite large. 1427 by 144. I did not realize it was that big. So I would obviously need to scale that down. Probably put the width in half or even in thirds. So let's try. First of all, at the beginning of the scene, add a sub event, and this will be adding in add hills. Then we're probably going to do let me think. Probably a repeat twice, let's say. And without any other conditions, it'll just, since it's at the beginning of the scene, it's automatically going to be a trigger once, repeat 2 times, and we'll create some hills. That position, let me see, again, this is 1280 by 720, so this would be window width, scene window width divided by 2, and then minus cloud dot width, something like that. And then the Y position would just be scene window width, or sorry, height divided by 2. So that should put one somewhere right in the middle. And then what we could do is actually add some randomization in there maybe. And then we'll say I don't know, plus random in range. And then we'll do like See, on the X position, that could be random in range minus, say, 400 to 400. So 400 to the left, 400 to the right. Y position. Probably just a small variance here. All right, no idea what this garbage is going to look like. Let's see what happens. All right, so we got some there. Why do we have 3? Oh. Well, that would make sense. I put it on there twice. So repeat 2 times. There we go. Now we just have the 2. Twin Peaks. But I would also want to change the animation of the hill. So for that, I would do a sub event here, and I would see, I could do an object variable of the hills. So let me add a variable. I'll call it well, let me think. Random animation as a number, and then go back over here. Then without a condition, we will assign, actually we can do it right here, just assign hill variable, random animation, set that to random, and that would be from 0 to 1, because we only have 2 animations. And then here we would say if the hill variable is equal to 0, and then we would set the animation of the hill. By number. Actually, I thought of maybe just a slightly better way of doing that. I might be able to just take the hill animation by number and just straight up assign it to that variable. So that would be hills dot random animation. Okay. Yeah, I don't think we even need the sub event. All right, let's run a test on that. Okay, so there's 1 test, 2 tests, 3 tests. So, yeah, it's kind of annoying that that one sprite is so giant. So what I could do is yeah, I can do a sub event here. I'll just take hill, if the hill animation by number is 1, then we need to change the scale, especially on the x-axis. Set it to, let's say, 0.3, and let's test that. I need to change the screen, the default screen, so that I don't have to keep dragging it over for everyone to see. But and then what I would also do is create, I think I would create houses on these hills. So right where it has me, sorry, right where I have the hill being created, I would create a house. And this would just be at position, like that. I heard something. Hills dot, let's say, center X, and then center Y, probably minus hills dot height divided by 2. And then I will stick, let me go add some behaviors here. So I'm going to add the sticker behavior to both the hill and the house so that they are stuck together. Okay, and apply, and then same thing on the house. Go to the behavior here and add behavior, there it is, apply. Oh, destroy when the object it's stuck on is destroyed. And apply. And then here I will simply stick the house to the hill in that order. So now if I'm creating the house or houses somewhere on a hill, in theory it's going to follow the location and then also destroy whenever the hill is destroyed. And I got something to happen here and it looks ugly. So first of all, I need to adjust the camera. Could probably just center it on the player for now. And then, yeah, let me see how that looks. That didn't work. Let me double check something here. Just double check something here real quick. I want to make it look nice. So this will probably be like the shortest amount of time I've contributed to a game jam so far. I'm not sure which number of jam this is for me. Maybe 5, maybe 6. But it's always a nice kind of exercise because I can play around with things I wouldn't normally be trying in my main game or games. So it really helps the learning process and exploring areas of the engine that maybe I don't get my hands on that often. Okay, so now we've got the camera centered on the player. It's going to follow the player around. But I want to change the zoom. There, now it's further out, which is ideal. Now the house is falling, but we're falling with it. And the houses are scaled. It seems to be whenever I apply the scale to one of the hills, the house is also scaling. Maybe I can select only follow the position and see if that helps. It does. And this houses are obviously way too big, so we would need to scale those down as well. So let's change the scale of the house. We'll set that to 0.25 and preview. That's about right. We could even assign it a random range. And set that to, say, anywhere from 0.2 to I'm not exactly sure, 0.35. Let's try that. And then also the points on the house. We did the collision masks. We want the origin to probably be bottom center. something like this. I always put it just above the actual bottom so that it doesn't look like it's floating on the platform, but is sort of embedded on the platform. So now we're getting this scenario here. Seems like we actually want the platforms to be bigger. So I think I almost don't even want to change the animation. Just to speed things up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the code structure here so that I can modify it later on if I want to. But instead of randomizing from 0 to 1, I'm just going to actually... It's just going to be animation 0, which is the basic hill. And then I will copy and paste this. So if it is in fact animation 0, then I will change the scale. And I'll change especially the X axis to, it will be random in range. Let's say anywhere from 2 to 4, or maybe 2 to 3. Let's see what that looks like. Three's maybe a little too long, and we could probably go a little lower than 2 as well. Let's say 1.5 to 2.5. And then let me think. Not sure. The placement of the house is on there. I think I know the issue. So I think I actually need to create the house after I scale it. So let me do this down here. And let me give that a test. And then of course I need to stick it there and change the scale here as well. All right, let's try that. So now we're getting the houses actually kind of centered on the hills. All right. I really need to get the theme built into this really early on. In other words, now. Because it's really going to drive the decisions on a lot of things. So with the 2-button theme, I do need to be able to move at least left and right. And then for platforming like this, obviously a jump as well. Unless I have these platforms moving upward. So let me test this. See if I can get away with something here. And so if I were to take the fact that the hills are moving downward and change that to a negative, they're going to go upward. Then we can't really see it because it's following the player, but they're moving upward, right? So if I were to then drop through a platform, which I need to change a behavior, you could just use gravity to drop down to one instead of using a jump. That might be a workaround, so I could use left and right without needing a jump. So that eliminates the need for a jump. Hello, Wasim. How you doing tonight? Having a good weekend? I do know Roblox. Played it a little bit. Never got super into it, but super awesome. You currently playing some Roblox? And then what I'm going to do next, yeah, I think I like that decision here. So then maybe we can use the houses to sort of trampoline around. But let me get the placement of the platforms and the houses correct. Could use clouds, actually. Those could maybe serve as a sort of a trampoline. That'd be funny. And then, yeah, so let me get the houses and the hills working correctly. And let me actually have the camera unfollow the player so that, actually that'd be out here. Center camera on the player. Let's actually center the camera on the scene. Or is it the window? No, it's the background. Tell you what. Let's just not center it at all. Let me see what this looks like. All right, so here's what we've got so far. So now you can see they're actually moving upward, and I need to fix some platform behavior here. It keeps getting stuck. So you could drop down to other platforms. So I need to create more of these things. Player behaviors, jump, can grab platform ledges, can go down from jump through platforms. Did I not apply jump through on one of these? Oh, okay, there we go. Apply. And on the house, we do want to jump through those as well. Let's jump through. All right, so let's test that one more time. So now if I go up onto a roof, I can jump down and then jump down. So we can do that. The player object, let's bring that to the front. All right, I need the scene to start probably at the beginning of the scene. I need the player to be on one of these, so I might create a spawn point or something like that. Which might just be the center of the scene. So let me actually just delete this guy here, and I will create the player object. And then player create exposition will be the middle of the scene, which will be scene window width divided by 2. And Y position will just say, I mean, it might be kind of funny to just have them fall in. And at the beginning of the scene, we will need a platform for them to land on. So I'm going to copy this down here below for if the time scale is 1. Let me copy and paste this here. Move that up actually. And then above, add a comment. This will be create, I'll just say platforms. And then add a comment here for I'll just say move objects. Actually, I guess it'd be move platforms as well. Next, I want to, yeah, so making sure that so I'm going to use a timer here, I think. And I'm going to create these platforms all the way at the bottom of the scene, just out of sight. So the Y value needs to be scene window height plus, I'm not totally sure here. Let me say hills.height yeah. Could add a little variance then, plus random and range. We'll just say plus random from 0 to 200, something like that. Oh, and yeah, so you couldn't see it, but it's going crazy. I need to add a timer here so that does not happen multiple times per second. Add new event below. So let's do a timer. Let's do a scene timer. Actually, not paused. Value of a scene timer. We'll call it platform spawn timer. is greater than or equal to, I will say 3 seconds, then create the things. So let's test that. That did not work. I need to drag this in as a sub event. And this whole thing needs to be a sub event of the time scale. Okay, it's still going to fit right now. Trying to remember the last time I played Roblox. I think it's been a couple of years, but I did download it on Xbox, and we got into it for a little bit. Okay, let's move this up. What is the issue here? Sometimes the comments throw this off. Okay. Let's test that. So now we have our initial platforms up here. Every 3 seconds, we should get some at the bottom. But there's something going on here. Let me test and debug this, or preview and debug. So pull this up. Go over here on the side. We can see we've got how many hills? 2. I wonder if what's happening is it's creating the hills, but then they're getting destroyed because of the destroy when outside of scene behavior. So let's go back in here. Yeah, that's why, because I think they need more room. Let's just make it really generous and say 1,000. All right, here's what I'm going to do. Since I'm not seeing additional platforms created, I'm going to add a comment. Let's see. Time scale of the scene is 1. The timer, oh, no, I never started the timer. I need to do that. So at the beginning of the scene, add hills, add players. I'm going to add an event below here with a comment, and I'll call it start timers. And then I will start a scene timer right there. Platform spawn timer. And I'm going to copy that and bring it down below. So once this gets done, I will start and reset the timer again. Now let's test. We're expecting platforms to spawn. There we go. They're spawning a little higher than I would prefer, and I could definitely spread them out more too. Maybe. Because we're not going to have a jump, so you can't really get back up on them. Once you go down, you're down. So let's change the placement a bit. And get some water. Alrighty. Making some good progress here. It's been an hour and a half. I do need to get a move on here, but I think I have the foundations of what I need for the game to be a game. Well, besides the actual collectibles. So, repeat 2 times. I want to change the position that this is spawning. So the Y value is too high. And then change the X value. I want it to be a wider spread. So scene window, wait, sorry, that's the wrong one. Scene window width divided by 2 as the X position, and then minus I said cloud width plus a random float in range. I don't think I want to do that. I think I want to do basically the scene window width divided by 2 minus random in range, scene window width divided by 2 so a -1 and a +1. Yeah, if I could type it correctly. All right, let's test that. Okay, my player fell to his death. So what I'm trying to do here is make sure that there is the potential for a game to continue on. There's obviously the danger of falling, and sometimes you don't have any control over that. So one option for that, or lots of options there, could have the player potentially pick up an item that will allow them to respawn at the top, and it'll drop them. Something like that. Or you could just have a number of lives. 3 lives. But I need more randomization here. I'm not sure what... I think it has to do with the camera zoom. Let me set that to 1. That might be my issue. Have to do all of this without jumping. I kind of like the look of the zoomed out scale, to be honest. So this is with scale 0.8, so it's slightly zoomed out or pulled out. That's the technical term, is pull out. You zoom in and you pull out, even though colloquially we always say zoom out. I learned that in film school. So let me check something here. In the properties, let's not update the resolution during the game. That might help me out as well. So my player fell. So we'll say, for right now, I'm just going to say player Y position is greater than scene window height plus player dot height. Then player Y position. Actually, I'll say player position is back at the center, so that would be scene window width divided by 2 and scene window height divided by 2. So if I were to test that now, whenever I fall, it should respawn me. Oh, actually, the Y value doesn't need to be in half. It should just be basically 0. So, yeah. There we go. So if you fall, you respawn. So I could implement that as like a power up, or maybe like a number of lives that you gain when you fall. But if you run out, of course, you die. You lose. But for testing purposes, I think I'll leave it in there so I can keep testing. And need to make a slight adjustment on the window and the zoom because I've got some platforms. This seems to be the outer limit on the left side, and they're spawning further off to the right. So if I do in fact set the camera zoom to 1, it'll be even more zoomed in. I wonder if that closes the gap on the left. And I still need to get the actual final player object in here too. This is just a temporary sprite for him. All right, checking. I'm really just trying to check the left side limit. I'm going to scale these down a bit. So if anyone's just now joining us, this is a weekend game jam for the GDevelop weekend game jam number 3. The theme is 2 buttons, and my 2 buttons are left and right, which is why I'm using gravity as my friend to give me basically a reverse jump from platform to platform. And it's due tomorrow, around noon. Just getting started on it. So yeah, what I'm trying to do now is change the layout of all the platforms that are spawning. I want them to be smaller. I want them to be more centered in the scene. And if we have multiple players, I'm not going to have the camera follow each player. I think I'm just going to have a fixed scene camera. And I want the platforms to be smaller. So let me do that right now. So at the beginning of the scene, we really just need, I guess, one platform. And it just needs to catch the players as they fall in. So that would be scene window width divided by 2. And then since the spawn point of the cloud is I could change the spawn point. Let me go do that. Maybe that will be more convenient for me. So the spawn point will be I guess the center is fine. So the center and the origin will be the same for that animation. And then yeah, let's just try that. So for this very first platform, it does spawn in the middle. That works just fine. I would actually have it spawn at scene window height, which is basically the bottom. So that will be all the way at the bottom. It will be centered, and then all the random ones will come in. And they're all still too big, of course. So I think first I would change. Here I'm changing just the X scale. I think I need to change both. So let me also change the scale of the Y axis. And I would set that to something random in range from, say, I'm not really sure here. For the height, we could say 0.3 to 0.7 ballpark, and we'll see what that looks like. For the x-axis, let's change that. Maybe 2 on the high end, but then maybe 0.5 on the low end. And I did that for the initial one. I actually need to do that for the random ones that spawn later on. So let's do it here. Paste those in. Come back up to the initial one. I actually just want that to be well, let me just see what we're working with here. Really just looking at the pink things, the hills. The houses are too big and I can't really see them that well, so let's change that. Change the scale of the house. There's already a really big sprite. Kind of ridiculously big for the scene. I've got it down to a scale of either 0.1, anywhere between 0.1 and 0.2. So a 10th or a 5th. All right, let's give that a test. A little bit better. Can get some funny combinations here with a big house on a tiny platform. Tiny house on a big platform. I don't like the upper end of the Y. These are too tall, I think. And I don't like the lower end of the X. It's too squashed. And I'm probably going to make the houses more random. All right, so changing the size of the things here, the hills, and then I think it was wait, no, I changed the wrong thing here. Change the upper end of the Y, in other words, the height of the hills. It was too tall, so I'm going to drop that down to, say, 0.5. And then the house. Oh no, the lower end of the width of the hills was too small. I'm going to bring that up to 0.8. Save that and let's give that a test. Again, really just focusing. I might even turn off the house generation right now. Let me disable that. I'm really just trying to focus on the platforms to make sure that the player can, in fact... Holy... That's too many. Let me add a different event here. Got to restart that timer. Just making sure the player has platforms in order to continue playing the game at all. Not sure exactly what I want to do with the houses. I just wanted to get them functionally spawning, attaching themselves to the hills. And in theory, we might have a couple of players doing this kind of behavior, collecting some loot objects that spawn in. And I'll probably have the houses spawn in as like a random thing. And I need to decide what I want them to do exactly. Are they a trampoline? Are they like destructible? But I'm not there yet. So this almost seems to be happening too many times. I have it repeating 2 times. What happens if I repeat 1 time? So let's see, we get one over there. So at this point you'd be in jeopardy because you don't have one, but now I do. There's one. This seems a little more like the challenge you would be facing, where you're hoping to get platforms under you. You might not get them, and you're probably competing with another player at the same time. I like that quite a bit better. And then for the house, we could say, let me drag that. Actually, I'm going to add a comment here. I'll say spawn extras, and the house will be one of those. All right, let me add, I need to add some objects to the game. So the player character, I am not using that. Let me take a quick look in the asset store. Probably looking for something that's kind of an SVG style art and something that might fit the theme here. I mean, I could do something ironic like a dark theme, like a zombie or something, but I think I'll stay on theme. I wonder what a good fit would be. What I can do is add from my device. This is something I used in a previous jam, but I mean, it's just reuse. So I could add, say, like an alpaca. And this is from the same artist as the background objects that I have in the game. So I could do this. Now let me see. I think it's still going to take a while to get all of the sprites in because I don't think I can do... Oh wait, no. Is this... Please tell me they did make this change. So we have idle. Here, let me do a refinement here in my folder. Blonde underscore alpaca underscore idle. No, it's with basket and then idle. Okay. So they're weirdly out of order. But yeah, I'm just going to add the alpaca in there for now. Maybe I can give the player some options if I have the time, but that's not my core concern at the moment. I'm wondering which color to go with, but everything in the scene so far is very kind of pink and purple. So I might go with this more yellow, yellow furred alpaca. And let me get all of these in there, hit open. 40 files. And delete that pumpkin guy. So I'm very happy about this change that GDevelop made. You can now batch select your sprites. And I think I messed up here though. Because I need... I think I grabbed the sitting one as well. Let me see here. Yeah, so I can get rid of those. Although it's kind of funny. If the idle animation for the alpaca, if I can even talk, the idle animation for the alpaca is to just sit down. It's kind of funny. Yeah, let me cancel and then go back into that. Delete that guy. And add sprite this time. So let me refine my search. I'll say idle underscore sitting. Now we have just all of these. So I'm going to select these, open, and then I need to double check that they're actually in order. So 0, 1, 2. It's a little tedious. Let me just, I guess I can check the preview. I need it to loop. That actually looks fine. I might speed it up a little bit. Yeah, I like that. Okay, I'm going to call that idle. Add animation, add sprite. This time instead of sitting, we will say it'll just be idle with a 0 after it, and select all of those. Thank you, GDevelop, for the change. Apply. I'll actually rename that one to I'll just call it standing idle. Probably won't use it, but it's there if I want it. I need another animation now for running. Open. Do a quick spot check here. Make sure it's in order. 0, 1, 2, 3. We need that to loop. And then this will really just depend on how fast you're actually moving in the game. Let me see. So now we need to talk about the controls. So apply, and then let me see what happens in the game. Create object player at the position. We will set the player animation to probably standing idle when you fall in. Need to change the scale as well. Let's try 0.3 maybe. All right, so here's what we're dealing with. Maybe slightly smaller. It's kind of hard to tell at this point because there's not much in the game. You can say 0.28. Now there is jumping. I need to disable jumping. Just thought about that. The jump is built into the platformer behavior, but I need to not allow it. Jump speed, let's just say 0. Apply. Yeah, you cannot jump now. Let's change the animation. And let me also add, let me see if the face forward will fix the direction. Apply. So yeah, face forward is, it's facing forward in the direction it's moving, which is falling. And it's sort of trying to face forward. I've fixed this before. I'm trying to remember what the solution was. Do I need to rotate it? Trying to fix issues on the fly here. Sometimes I'm slower, sometimes I'm faster. Just trying to think about that one. Let me do the animation first and I'll come back to that. Let me get rid of the face forward for now. Okay, apply, and let's do a new event below, which is right here. Drag that up. So this will be for the player movement. Or rather, player animations. So if the key is pressed, in this case it would be A. This is actually going to be an OR statement, so let me add an OR. So if either A or D are pressed, Then it's going to be the player animation by name, and that will be running. And then I'm going to copy that down, and I'm going to say if this works the way that I think it does, if neither is pressed, then the animation will be idle. It does not like that. All right, had to take a quick break there. All right, just working on the animations here for the player character, and let me check something here. So again, hopefully everyone's been having a good weekend so far. Mine's been pretty chill. Just kind of rounding the Saturday to Sunday corner here with a lighthearted game jam with GDevelop, and just going with this. It's going to be a candy theme, although I haven't gotten much candy into the scene yet. And yeah, I didn't have a serious plan for it. The theme is 2 buttons. My buttons will be left and right. And since I can't use a jump, I'm allowing gravity to help me to drop down to other platforms. And of course, it'll collect objects along the way and that sort of thing. So that's how I am approaching it. Just kind of making it up on the fly. So definitely open to suggestions. Let me see here. Looking at some reference material. That lazy alpaca. He's just sitting there blinking away. Let's see here. I'm going to try, if any key is released, we'll change the animation to idle. Let's see if it likes that. So that works. Now, I think it's sort of overriding the default platformer object behavior, since I'm explicitly assigning something to the A and D key press. So to fix that, I think I need to also tell it to... Let's add a sub-event. Player, actually not player, this would be key press. Then it would be simulate, moving right. Oh, there we go. I selected the top-down platformer. This is not top-down. And then same thing for A. That would be simulate pressing left. Let's see if that works. It does. And I have it set up to where, I guess I could also change it to where the animation changes while you're falling. So player falling and set that to inverted. So if the player's not falling and you press A or D, it simulates running. Let's make sure that still works. It does. Obviously, I still need to change the direction it's facing. And then for if any key is released, and again the player's not falling, it should idle. Make sure that still works. A little bit buggy there with the animation got stuck, but that generally works. And then finally, if the player's falling at all, change the animation to standing idle. All right, I need to smoothen that out. I think because I overwrote the default movements. In other words, because I did it the hard way, I think the movement is not allowing me to move when I'm not on a platform. It's not giving me any sort of coyote effect or anything. So I'll come back to that. I think it's fine for now. And then I want to get a move on. Let me fix the facing issue. All right. Need to do some flippage here. Can't remember if I think it's already facing left by default. So it would be whenever the D key is pressed that it will flip. So let me change this, and that should give us what we need. So if I press left, if I press right, and again, it's that fall that's just annoying me so much. But yes, we have the animations and we have the direction it's facing. All right, save that. Now we're going to need score, obviously, so let's go ahead and get that into the game. We'll just start with the text. We'll call it text score. All right, and this will be this will need to be on the UI layer. I need to create a UI layer. Add layer. UI layer. All right. Then add it to that layer. So now it should not leave us in any way. And then we'll need a variable. This would be probably it could be a player variable, it could be a scene variable. Let me do let me try as a player object variable. Player object score, apply, and then let's say we need something to test here. I guess we have houses, right? So if we spawn houses, let me undisable that or enable it. So this would be another sort of timer thing. If the timer, we'll say house spawn timer. Actually, no, wait. No, never mind that. I'm going to do a random number. So I think I need another scene timer for that. A scene. I need a scene variable. I haven't added any yet. So we'll do house spawn, something like that. And then here we will say after the hills are created, then the scene variable that we just made is set to a random in range. Oops. And we would say maybe we want every 8 or so. So it would be a random in range from say 0 to 7. And then the condition here, of course, would be if that variable is equal to, and we'll say 7. Then it'll create a house on one of those hills. And let's give that a test. So we have one on the starting one, of course, but then after that it's going to be about 1 and 7, or 1 and 8. And, oh. So I didn't assign the animation updates to the arrow keys yet, so it's only applying on the A and D keys. And I'm falling forever until I get a platform under me, because I didn't give myself the ability to move through the air. Looking for a house, though. That's what we're really testing here. All right, let me go to Mr. Debugger. Not getting any houses. I have 12 hills. All right, let's check the logic. Is it working at all? Okay, there's 1. There's 2. All right, so it does work. I mean, you know, it's a random, it's a nearly random number, so there's no guarantee that it's actually going to pick it. So let's do, let's test 6. All right. Look at that tiny little hill. All right, there's one way down there. And so what I'm getting at, the reason I'm doing this is, let's just say that those are collectible. And I still think these hills are too wide, since you cannot drop through them, as I originally kind of wanted to do. You need them to not be too wide. So let's change the width of this, the scale of the width. Instead of a maximum of 2, let's say a maximum of 1.5. Okay, and then all right, we'll say, let's create a section down here for collecting loot. So this will be a repeat for each instance of house. And for that, I'm going to do a, that will be a child of, if the number of houses rather, yeah, if the number of instances currently on the scene is greater than 0, otherwise don't even do the check, then if the player distance to the house, and we'll say distance of, I'll just say 5 pixels or so, then we will delete the house and we will add a score. And we will add, let's just say 1. Then, so testing several things here. First, let's see if the houses accurately delete. I think if I'm going to do this, I need to actually turn the platformer behavior off of the houses. I no longer need that. Apply. Now let's test that. Okay, so it wants us to fall directly in the center of the house nearly. So I'm going to increase the radius from 5 pixels to, let's do something house dot let's say width divided by 2, something like that. And then let's get more of them spawning so we can really see. Let's just say if that random number is greater than 0, so we'll get a whole lot. So then we also want to update the text. So we need, did I do a section for that? Add new event below. And add a comment. So this is going to be update text. Okay, and then for that, we will just, I guess, unconditionally update. I'm sure there's a more optimized way to do this, but for right now, I'm just going to take the text. Yeah, I hate to do this in a bad way. Let me not. So instead of updating unconditionally, I want to update whenever this actually occurs. So we'll just do it right here. Whenever the player actually collects a house, then we'll update the text score. Text, and we'll assign that to, it'll still say score like it did. And then we'll say to string round, lowercase round. And then we'll add player object score and close that in some parentheses and hit OK. And so that should now update the score variable and the score text whenever the player object is in collision with a house. Let's test that. All right, we got 1 point, 2 points. Got to fix the movement through the air situation. Need a platform under us then, and it went right through. It's a little questionable. Little questionable. Let me double the radius on those houses. Make sure it's in fact large enough. Thought that it was. Yeah, so not sure what the issue there is. Those small ones are a little bit stubborn. And it's probably because I'm setting the collection radius to the house width in pixels. Which should be plenty, but let me say at least +5 at a, actually, let me think. Let's say +25 at a minimum. right, so it does seem to be collecting them better now. I just need to fix the stupid inability to travel horizontally while falling. But what I can do is start adding in some other objects, especially loot objects. So like add in a sprite here, add animation, add sprite from my desktop here. Let's go up a folder. I am way out of my folder. Assets. Here we go. So let's get some, it's a candy themed scene. We could do some candy canes. Add animation, add sprite, add bread cane. It's a little extra doing separate animations just for a different color, but it works. Let's look at the collision mask on that. That looks fine. We can rename this to, we'll use a group for these. So we'll do, I'll just call it cane. Apply. And let's add this to a group. Or let's create a group. We'll call it collectibles. Okay. And then let's add the cane to the object. Still not sure about the houses. I don't know if I want those to actually be collectibles. I feel like those should be more like a something else. I don't know. I'm open to suggestions. But if the player falls onto the rooftop of a house, something can happen. Such as maybe it trampolines the player back up since the player can't actually jump. Because we're limited to the theme of the jam, which is 2 keys. 2 buttons. So for what we would do then is we would actually repeat for each instance of collectible or collectibles. That way we can start adding in all sorts of different candy loot objects and not have to keep specifying. We'll specify basically the number of points that you get, and that's about it. So let's spawn in some candy canes. All right, I'm going to add a scene variable again. This will be cane spawn randomization. Basically just to set how rare or common it is. New event below. So we'll change a variable. something like that, and 0 through 20. Let's add a comment here. So these are all for spawning the extra items, the things you can collect or interact with on top of the platforms themselves. So we've got the house. This would be for the canes. Now this timer needs to come down to the bottom. And I'm just going to copy and paste that other thing, the other event down below. So, all right. This will be the cane spawn randomization. We're going to change that variable. And then depending on that random number, let's say if it's greater than 15, then we're going to create the cane. Oops. Oh, I need to add the sticker behavior. So let me see if I can do this here. Edit the group. So I can add the objects and the variables. I think the behavior still has to be object specific. That would be the sticker. Apply. Okay. Go back over to the events and yeah, stick the cane to the hills. I'm not sure. Let me double check what the actual size of the cane is by playing the game here. Right now it's changing the scale quite a lot. Do we get them to spawn? And if so, how big are they? Okay, pretty acceptable size, I would say. But we need to change the points on it. So we want the origin point to be the bottom right down here. Close and apply. Let's test that again. Still not sure what the deal with these houses is. Okay. That was weird. I'm going to play that again. I'm really not sure what just happened. So it's not collecting this house, even though we've tested that it should be well within range. And then it's collecting both of them at the same time. So what did I change? What did I break? Okay, so I said, this is it right here. I said repeat for each instance of the collectibles group. Yeah, so if the number of collectibles in the scene is greater than 0, not the number of houses, and then then repeat for each instance. If the distance is below, in this case I said house.width, we need to do collectibles.width, and then I added 25 pixels for safety. Then we would delete the collectible, not some house. All right, let's test that. That was a mess. All right, still not collecting up that house, but I didn't add the house to the group, so that would make sense. It's not collecting the candy cane either, though. I could add the house to the group for testing. All right, well, I got that first one. What's next? Okay, I think I must have changed something else inadvertently as well. So then don't need this line, don't need that comment. Let's see what I changed here. So for each hill, then it could also spawn one of these things. Let me say no, never mind. I'm going to add a little randomization to the X spawn point of the canes. And I'll just see how that looks. All right, and then the scale of the canes can be quite a bit bigger. Or at least a little bit bigger. All right, so just double checking my events here because I know I had some bugs a second ago. So if the number of collectibles living on the scene is greater than 0, then repeat for each instance of collectibles. If the player distance is below collectibles.width plus 25 pixels, then delete the collectibles. What if instead of saying that, I just give this a hard number? At least for now, to make sure that I know it'll work. So let's say more like the player dot width plus, let's say 25, 35, whatever. Just want to make sure that it's actually able to collect these things, and then if it doesn't, why not? So I grabbed that house there. I got those. The running is a mess right now, but the score is increasing when it collects the things. That seems to be working. So I'm going to continue to add a couple of objects into the game then. Macarons, or macaroon. All right, we have a lot of colors. That's cool. Let's add a lot of, I guess these will just have to be animations for it. Not a lot of time left. I only have until tomorrow midday to get this game jam submission submitted. And in my experience, submitting a game for a jam needs a safety margin of 2 hours from wrapping up development to actually packaging it up and getting it submitted. So many people run into last minute issues, and I ran into issues myself a couple of times in the past. You know, file errors or whatever the case may be. So with that being the case, really not a ton of time left for me on this jam. I am sleeping tonight. Just trying to have some fun with it. So let me rename this sprite. We will call it Macaron. I'm going to add a sticker behavior to it. Oh, and I need to double check the cane one as well. It does need to destroy when the object it's stuck on is destroyed. And then add the macaron to the collectibles. Apply, and then let's double check the collision mask on it. That looks fine. Let's double check the points. So whenever that spawns, I think I'll set the spawn point right about here. And close and apply. How big are these? Pretty giant. So similarly, that'll need to be scaled down. Let's add another scene variable. So now we have a pattern going on, which makes it a little bit easier. So this will be macaron spawn randomization, apply, and then I'm going to go down and add that below here. So take this, Control C, Control V, add a comment. The comment will say macaron. Drag that down to the correct spot. And then basically just change all these things to say macaron. Does anyone have any fancy plans for the rest of the weekend? Anyone working? All right, let's test this. I'm going to get rid of the houses for now. Don't want any houses. Candy canes are fine. Actually, let's disable those as well. And give this a test. The first one is default, of course. Did we /i not update to the variable? All right, let's preview with the debugger open. Okay, got to get those. Okay, it collected and it increased the score. That basic first animation of the macaron looks kind of like a burger, doesn't it? All right, well, they are collecting. Obviously, I'll fine-tune the collection radius. Now let's re-enable the other two things, the candy cane and the house. And make sure that they all kind of play nicely together. Can I get that? Nope. Got that one. Yeah, just making sure right now that they're not deleting each other whenever one is collected and the other's not. So got that one, got that one. Okay, that seems to be working. The candy cane is too big, probably. Change the scale from, we'll say from 0.1 to 0.2. Macaron. What do we think about the size on that? All right, well, there's all three things. Macaron needs to go down in size. The house, I don't know what I'm doing with it yet, so I'm going to ignore it. The macaron goes down in size, so we'll say 0.08 to 0.15. What does that look like? Looks like there was a lot of quality loss in the smaller macaron. But it's working, it's functional. I'm going to keep moving forward. Obviously, at some point, I'll need to randomly assign the animations for all of these things because we have a lot of options. So I think that would be an object variable. For example, on this guy, we have 7 animations. So let's add an object variable. We'll call it animation, or let's see. That. Apply, and then whenever that's created, we'll also change the variable. And we'll set that to random. And we'll just say from 0 to, I think it's 6. Okay. And then down below that, we will set the animation to that number. So that would be macaron animation by number. And the number will be the variable. All right, let's test that. See if we get different colors of the cookies. Are they cookies? I'm not really sure. I think they are. Okay, we're still getting animation 1, or 0 rather. Okay, that's not working. Sorry about that. Let's see here. Oh, that's why. I put the wrong variable in there. Now let's test that. Whoa, that was weird. It, like, changed the animation as I was collecting it. Look at that. It's kind of trippy, but that's not really the intent. I wonder what's triggering that. So it's creating the object, sticking it to the hill, changing the scale, changing the number of the animation. Shouldn't be doing that, but let me see if I can put in a fix. I'm going to go to the Macron object. I'm going to add a variable, a Boolean. I'm going to call it animation set. Although this may extend beyond just animation, it seems to be rescaling it as well. Just kind of brainstorming through a couple of solutions here. Okay, let me go back to that variable. I think I want to call it animation. I want to call it Macron finalized. That will start off as false. Then, so I'm going to add a subcondition, or sub-event rather. And the sub-event will say that if that variable is false, then do these things. And then set that variable to true. Let's test that. See if that made it worse. Okay, nothing there. So let's take another look into this. Oh, so first of all, create the... It would help if I actually created the object, right? All right, I need to test this with more. So let me increase the frequency here. Come on. Okay, they're all spawning. The scale is changing, the animation is not. Why not? I know why. Because I can't change an object variable if the object doesn't exist. So let me change that variable right here. In fact, that might have been why I was getting a bug in the first place. Okay, so there we've got a yellow, a pink, another yellow, an orange, blue, brown, and green. It's like a Halloween cookie. All right, that seems much better. Much better. All right. I can live with that. And I think I did more work on that than I had to. All right, so I could always add more and more objects, but for now, let me see if I can bring this to sort of a wrapping point for the night. What else do I need to make this kind of fun? I need to fix the running. And I'm in a little bit of a predicament because normally I would use the default platformer characteristics and behaviors of the platformer player object. But since I basically need to eliminate the ability to jump. And then I also set the animations manually, and I think it had a problem with that. Let me try disabling this real quick. You know, honestly, I kind of like the look better. Yeah, I like that look better. Where the legs are still moving as it's falling. What I want to happen, though, is once it lands like that, the legs do need to stop. So I'm going to say, let me re-enable this. If the player is not falling, and I'll say any key pressed, inverted. Then change the animation to I guess idle. I suppose I'm not going to use the standing idle at all. Let's see if that works. That seems to work. It doesn't fix the actual movement, but I think that it looks better. I want it to be able to sort of coyote off of the edge, not just plummet straight down. That's not natural. Okay. Let me save that. All right, thinking, trying to keep the wheels turning before I finish up here. I might just have to debug that in the morning. What else can I do then? I can add background for sure. In this case, I guess I would need a vertical parallax. Not sure what I want for that. Could also add something that has a trampoline effect. And earlier I thought maybe clouds would work for that. That would be kind of fun. So let's see, I don't think I have any assets that would really accommodate a vertical parallax for this. But I could create clouds just like the platforms and set those to the background. As well as other, in fact, I think that answers my own question. So if I go back to my assets here, let me get that white screen off of there. Let me pull that up real quick. Images. So here is a folder with some background images. That is something I could do. It basically use platforms that are further into the background, moving at like a slower rate, and they're more grayed out like this. That might be the approach I take to sort of a parallax effect. So let me add new object, sprite, import images. Let's back it up to background. And we'll just use that. And add some animations to it. Okay, there are a few of them. We don't have the macron, but I can make up one of those if I have time. Oh, and maybe the houses as well. I'm going to call this background collectibles. Apply. Actually, let me add a sticky behavior to that. All right. And we also have the sky color. Let me bring that in as a tiled sprite. I don't know, what was the size here? 94 bytes, it's pretty big actually. That would be just the background. Drag that out here. And since it's a tiled sprite, it's going to repeat the image rather than stretching it. Let's see, I need to pick the range that I want. Maybe something like this. I'll probably tweak this one as well. It's the wrong dimension for the game, so I almost would need to rescale it. It's almost too bright, but it definitely helps like all of the purples to pop out. Get more of a sky blue now. Getting some really weird. I think I need to set this actually to the back. Send to back. In fact, let me put that on its own layer altogether. Drag that under the base layer. And put this thing on that. That's a little bit better. Now, what I could do to make this like a little more of a challenge is to slowly increase the rate at which the platforms move. So right now they're moving 1 pixel per frame. So I need to add some sort of equation to slowly increment that. So I would need a scene variable. We'll call that I guess platform speed. Maybe platform speed increment as a number. Now that would start as 1. And then we'll plug that in right here. But then we want to slowly modify that. So I guess we would do a timer. And I'll call it platform speed timer. And what do we want to do here? We could do every second. I guess every second it would add like 0.01. maybe 0.02. Let's see what that feels like. Very unnoticeable. Let's try. So every 1 second. .1. So these platforms should start to speed up. And there's a really weird platformer behavior there that's not quite working. And do they still seem too slow? Like the increase is maybe too slow. Yes, I would say it's definitely still too slow. Is this actually doing what I want it to do? So it's not because I didn't actually start this timer at all. I'm gonna get it, y'all. Just give me time. I'll figure these things out. Go up here to my timer section, paste that in there, and test. All right, they're definitely going much faster. So that's going to cause the game to really force the player to, like, I mean, eventually die. Let's decrease it a little bit. So that was 0.1. Let's go back to the original 0.02 and see what that feels like. Basically, are we getting about a minute of gameplay before it becomes like crazy fast? I saw a collection there that looked invalid. Maybe a couple of them. I would say this could be maybe slightly faster. I'll say 0.03. Save that. So this is what I want the movement to be like. Let me reset this. All right. All right, so yeah, I'm just going back and I'm seeing if I can use the built-in behaviors rather than manually changing some of these items like the animations. So jump speed 0, default controls, idle, and running. I guess I'm getting rid of, I don't need standing idle at all, really. But I've got idle and running. So those are the ones I really want to use. So for the fall animation, we'll use running. Jump, there really won't be a jump. It would be running. There won't be a climb. Apply, let me see. Seems to be backwards. But the animations look correct. So, go back to that. Flippable. Let me try flipping at the beginning of the scene. Create player object. Sorry, we're close here. Really close. Just looking to figure out why it's backwards. And And I'm running out of steam here, so I'm just trying to get a little more value out of the stream here before I hit pause and resume tomorrow morning. So let's see, we've got enable animation changes, which are working as intended. Enable horizontal flipping. It is flippable. These look correct. Y sort. I don't think we actually needed Y sort. So we can actually remove that behavior. We're not using it at all. So we do need the flipping be enabled. Apply. Let me try something else. Let's go into the editor here. And I'm going to flip on all frames horizontally. So I need Alt, Shift. Wait. Actually, just Shift. All right. Save that. And then let's do the same for the running. Let's see if it likes this better. Save that. Apply. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is now working as intended. You probably couldn't really tell from before because you couldn't see which buttons I was pushing. But now whenever I push left, it does this. Whenever I push right, it does this. So I guess I could have explained that better. But yes, now the movement animations is much more user-friendly. That's what we're looking for. There are still some bugs in the collection, but generally speaking, we're collecting the objects that we touch. The platforms are moving up at an increasing rate. For testing purposes, my llama is respawning. In the game, I think I'm going to implement lives. Maybe I should go ahead and do that now. So let's add an object. Yeah, I'd like to try to get all of the core pieces into the game now. So let's do... Let's do a resource bar. Now we will do... Well, we can do these for now. I'll probably change this to something custom. Just drag it out. Oh, that needs to go go back to that, onto the UI layer. And let's go into that real quick. Flat heart bar. Let's just call it health bar. Okay, most of that, yeah, we'll do 3. I think 3 is fine. And then maybe even make the platforms a little bit smaller in terms of the width. I feel like I don't have to die that often. So that would be the scale. Let's make the scale a little smaller. We'll do 0.7 all the way to 1.2. And then we'll say see, where do we show the player outside of the scene? Let's move that to the bottom. Now that should be a child of this one. So it should follow this line. It needs to go in 1. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, I think several items need to move in 1, which is kind of annoying. Okay. So here we will say if the, well, hold on, what am I trying to say? If the Y position of the player is basically below the bottom of the scene, let's do a sub event. If the health bar value is greater than 0, then change the position. If it is not greater than 0, then we need to, I think, just delete the player object. And probably, like, it depends on what we're going to do here. If it's a multiplayer game later on, then you wouldn't want to just end the game. Probably at least play a sound, maybe do a visual. And I think I had something I used previously. Let me create something here. Add new object. This would be a particles emitter. Let's try sparks. We'll call that death explosion. Let's replace the image with a file from my device. pick one of these fluffs. We're not going to change the color. Let's say the size doesn't need to change. Okay, it does need to be a lot smaller though. So let's say 10%. So even smaller, I would say. And the force, let's say that's at about 100. So let's say I'm just trying to get one of these into the middle of the scene at the start of the game so that we can test it. And then we would need to rotate it. I think 270 faces upward. So it happens really fast here. Adjust. Let me tweak this a little bit. All right, so something like this. Let me spawn that whenever the player should die, all the way down here. It's a literal and it's a figurative and literal bottom of the scene here. So delete, we will create these things at position . We could do it just at the center, or we could do it at the player's location. Let's try the player location. And we will, actually, hold on. We need to remove a value from the health bar here and subtract 1 every time you fall. All right, let's test this out. Testing falling off the scene. So I fell through, it took away a heart, and I respawned. Same thing, and now I should die. Well, I got saved. Okay, so that one, it looks like it respawned me up at the top. Let's test that one more time. So fall off. Platform saved me. Yeah, it's respawning me and then... All right, let me think. Well, we could do player center X, and then we can just do scene window, or really even camera. Camera center Y. What does this look like? All right, we lost a heart. Lost a heart. We should die now. Oh, I said camera center Y. That was not correct. We should do camera border bottom. That's what we're looking for. Let's see if we get it. If we get the result. Lost 1 heart. Lost 2 hearts. Now we should die. Poof. There's at least some sort of visual indicator, and also the player object has been deleted. So, all right. Here is where we stand. So to do, we need, of course, all of the sounds. Music. I mean, yeah, music's pretty quick. And then, because I'm not going to make it from scratch, I'm going to borrow. Then now we need... I'm going to work this into multiplayer. And leaderboard. I think if I could get those things, which is no small amount of effort, then I think I will have a game jam submission that isn't a total embarrassment. I have a few ideas that I would like. You know, I have a couple of niceties that would be nice to have, but not necessary to really consider this a submission. Such as adding more loot objects, maybe some abilities, like I mentioned, a trampoline effect. Those would be really cool. I don't think that they're fundamental. I think those would just make it a little more something something. So if I can get these other things put in tomorrow morning, I don't think I'm even going to bother with an in-depth menu system. I'll probably just do credits and stuff in the Game Jam submission itself for now. Oh, I know what else. So nice to have, I'll just say more like optional would be background stuff. So this would be like the parallaxing stuff. Again, it doesn't affect the gameplay at all. It would just be for looks. And then I'll say trampoline. So let me make sure that's on the screen here. Yeah, we do have it on the screen. So that's the goal. And with the small amount of time that I have to put into this game, it's a little ambitious, but I'm going to go for it. So yeah, I think I'm going to call it a wrap for now, and I'm going to pick this up tomorrow morning. Should be able to stream it. If you've been following along, really appreciate you watching. And yeah, I'm going to call it a wrap for tonight. So thanks so much for watching. Take care. And until next time, I hope you have fewer bugs than I do. And have a good night.